Hey everybody, this episode of the Team Tally podcast is brought to you by Neat Cute Box. It's a great subscription service. It's a date night in a box, basically. You get a box every month. It's got some great stuff in it. It's personalized. It's all local businesses, small business owners, helping small business owners out. You get some great stuff in there. We've got them. And we've got at least one already, and we love it, and we're planning on keeping it going. So if you have any trouble getting together, you've got a baby, not just any baby, but a NICU baby, premature baby, it makes it harder to get, time together. So date nights are rare. So Meet Cute Box is great. It's $30 a month. Your first box, you get 10% off using the code podcast. So check it out. It's good stuff. And thanks for listening. Now, on with the podcast. Hey, everybody. This is Mike Kirkland. Welcome to the Team Tally podcast, a parental pilgrimage with a micro preemie. I knew I would eventually get it right because it's a tongue twister. But I got it right this time. So yay! So hey everybody, my name is Mike. I'm Tally's dad. If you haven't seen it before, that's me. Stephanie's here as well.
Hey guys.
Tally's mom. And, well, all of them's mom, but Tally's the focus here. So, this is our 6th episode.
Wow.
I can't believe we've made this many episodes. I can't believe anybody watches it.
Yeah, it is a little surprising that we made it this far and that people are, hopefully we're helping somebody out there with it. That's the main purpose.
Yeah.
I guess the only purpose.
Hopefully somebody's getting some good out of it, or some comfort, or some information. And, it's a tough journey. It's a tough road. We're not even at the end of it.
We're just at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. It's a lifelong journey. So, Stephanie wanted to talk today about one of the issues we ran into while we were still in the NICU. Tally had what the doctors called Retinopathy of Prematurity, ROP. So, I don't know anything about eye diseases or conditions or whatever. So after getting the eye doctor to explain it 2 or 3 times, it really seemed like he was saying that the retina, like the round part in the back of the eye, normally the blood vessels would grow out from the retina, and that would be the part that would have your peripheral vision. And with Tally, and apparently it's pretty common with a lot of babies that are as early as she was, those blood vessels, instead of growing outward into the retina like they're supposed to, they were just kind of growing up and out in their own direction. So it could have damaged her vision if they had left it untreated.
Yeah, I was hoping after our whole incident with the brain bleeds that we would get through this one without any issues, but it didn't happen, which is okay. Tally had her brain surgery at 1 month, and she had her ROP surgery at 2 months. We had one of probably the best ophthalmologists in the world at our hospital, which we were grateful for. And they came in and they did our first eye appointment, which is it's not traumatizing for the babies, but it's pretty traumatizing as the adults to watch. They go in with these clips and they clip their eyes to open, and they dilate their eyes so that they can see them. And then, of course, after our first exam, we were told that she had stage 2.
I think so.
Yeah, which there's 4 different stages, and if it stays within stage 1 or stage 2, it usually will correct itself. If it goes further than stage 2, then it would require intervention to correct it. So every week they would come in and do an eye exam on her, and every week it slowly got worse to the point where we had to make a decision on what type of treatment to do for it. The I guess the most common, most popular, I don't know, is a laser surgery where they just do it at their bedside and they just give them like a local anesthetic. They don't go all the way under to calm them and to ease them, and then they just go into laser and they laser off the blood vessels in your eyes so that they don't continue to grow the wrong direction. We were also given the opportunity to be part of a trial study where they were doing some type of injection in the eyes, but in the end, they didn't promise anything. It could still end up doing the laser surgery, and it would just prolong the possibility of her having eye damages if we went with that route. So we did go with the more conventional, known route, the laser surgery. She also only had stage 4 in one eye, but the other eye was showing signs it was going to that part, so we just decided to do them both eyes in one sitting so she wouldn't have to have 2 different procedures if it wasn't called for.
Yeah, we only felt like there was a need to do the sedation one time. There's no reason to put her through the extra trauma. If you're wondering what the eye clips look like, think of Alex in A Clockwork Orange. A few of you will get the reference. Not all of you, though. Now, it was pretty interesting, too, when they would come in to check her vision, because they had to put this little clip on there for that, too, and hold her eye open. So they had to hold her still, and her eyes open, and they're shining this bright light in there. And they actually let us help hold her because, she was a little more comfortable with us than, a therapist that she had never met before or whatever. So we get to hold her up close for that. It was a pretty interesting experience. You just really want to smack their hands away. The baby starts getting upset, and you really just want to leave her alone.
Yeah.
The surgery itself was pretty. It felt scary at the time. Now looking back on it, the actual procedure, it's kind of like maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed at the time.
It was pretty scary.
Well, I mean the actual technical part of the procedure. Because I don't think the actual surgery even took more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think it took very long at all. Going into the surgery, Talley had weaned herself pretty well off of the oxygen. We actually got to start doing her bottle feedings because she had reached a certain gestational where they were ready to let her try to bottle feed. And I had always seen on the Facebook pages and read that the bottle feedings could be the trickiest part because the hospitals will only give them a certain amount of time and a certain amount of, ounces to get in before they would consider it a full bottle. So we were really, really looking on the fast track to go home. We were bottle feeding. We were on very low settings on the oxygen, and they tell us that they're going to do this surgery. And with any surgery, there's risk, but it just seemed like it was just going to be such a low risk surgery where they would just do it at her bedside. She wouldn't have to go under, and everything would just be super. I mean, the surgery was a success. It did what it was supposed to do, but before we start the surgery, they tell us that there's this chance that she's going to have to be intubated again, depending on how she responds to the anesthetic. And to me, that was just terrifying because we had come so far off the intubation. We were taking the bottles, and so, that's just any type of procedure they had to have that could lead to intubation. So when we, say our goodbyes and we head to the waiting room for the procedure, And it doesn't take long, like Mike said at all. It's pretty quick and easy. I don't know about easy, but quick. And of course, they come out and tell us the surgery was successful, but she had to be intubated because she did not respond well to the drugs that they gave her. Which to me, even though we got her vision corrected, I just felt like it was such a blow to my heart that we had to be back on the intubation. And she really kind of struggled for a few days. The day of the surgery, there was a incident where the nurse was just coming in, getting situated, and somehow a tube got knocked out, and Talley literally coded, turned blue, and I thought I was watching my daughter die in front of our eyes. But thankfully, the nurse had quick thinking and hit the code button, and all the doctors and nurses came in, and they got her back to where she needed to be. But even after a brain surgery and everything we'd gone through, watching your child be lifeless and turning blue, it was the scariest moment I had in the entire NICU that we were there. And it still took her, I would say she was not wanting to wake up from that. They gave her, I can't remember exactly what drug they gave her, but she started not reacting well to it. So then they had to give her Narcan to reverse the side effects of the drugs, and they had to give her 2 doses of that because she was struggling so much. And then when she finally got back to where she needed to be, she got intubated, and she just did not want to wake up, and so they had to start giving her doses of caffeine and get her back to where she would respond to stimulation and start to move and wake up for it. So it was a good, I want to say 7 to 10 days that she had to be reintubated. And we just went back to where we had to have help to get her. We had to, and even for a couple of days after the first surgery, they wouldn't even let me hold her because she was still not responding well after that incident of the coding. So overall, they also told us that one of the reasons that she might have struggled so much was that she was still really small for the procedure, and that she was probably one of the smaller babies that they do that on. So maybe she was too small for it at the time. I don't know. But surgery was a success, and we still had continued eye appointments and visits while we were in the NICU, and then we came home. We still would go and get our eyes checked. And our last visit, I think, was in February or March.
I think so.
We go back in December. We were going to get pushed back to a year out as far as having to have an eye exam, but they went ahead and booked it for 9 months, which will be December, because they're showing a slight stigmatism in one of her eyes, which is just beyond me how they can see this stuff already in these babies. It's the medical field and the advancements that they have to help get these babies where they need to be is just mind-blowing. So we'll go back in December and see our ophthalmologist at OU Children's Hospital in Oklahoma, which he is such an amazing doctor. We're fortunate to have him. And hopefully we'll get to wait another year before we have to go back. But they're checking to see if she needs glasses at an early age, or last time we went in, they were checking to see if her eyes were crossed, if she needed any other corrections. And the only thing they really saw was the stigmatism in one of her eyes.
Yeah, and they also said she doesn't need any vision correction right now. She still has good eyesight. They didn't go so far as say 20/20 or whatever, but they said she was able to see fine. I think the sedative they had her on during the surgery, wasn't it like a large dose of fentanyl?
I think it was something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Something like that. I know they had her on fentanyl at first when she was first in the NICU, as a way of trying to relieve any pain she might have and keep her calm. they had her like on a microdose of fentanyl. So I'm thinking it was a larger dose of that. But you're right. It was another opioid for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But so they had to use the Narcan on her to counteract that. I think also the first 2 or 3 days when they didn't want to just try and wean her back off the tube once they got her back on, but they would just kind of test and they would lower the settings a little bit to see what she did. And I think part of the problem was she was so exhausted from the procedure, from the sedative, from the up and down, and all of that stuff. And she was just so small. She was exhausted. So what was happening was with the tube doing the breathing for her, she was so tired, she was letting it. She was like, this tube's in here and it's doing the work for me. I'm going to let it. So when they would try and lower the settings, her blood oxygen would go down with it because she was still trying to let the tube. Now, there's no way to know at the time. It's like, is she just not, or can she not? There's no way to know that. But after several days of experimenting, it just started to become obvious that maybe she couldn't at first, but at some point we got to where we could tell that she was just letting the machine do the work instead of doing it herself. So then once we realized she probably could handle it on her own, we were able to make a plan to wean her off. Again, they didn't want to just be like, well, let's just take her off. They don't, because that's, we were already set back because of having to re-intubate her, but they don't want to try and rush her off and then have to go back on it at all. They don't want to have to do that because any setback is just like resetting us to day one. Like emotionally, we're just back at day one. Anytime somebody says she sneezed, we're like, oh God, what does that mean? So I do want to mention too, though, although her eyesight is good for now, anyway, we both have terrible eyesight, so
yeah,
that's really just with a grain of salt right there. But the side effect of the ROP, and we discussed this quite a bit with the doctor, is mostly the biggest side effect is going to be her peripheral vision, because the blood vessels that they had to laser would have grown into the outer areas of her retina and would have provided the blood flow for those parts of the retina that would help her peripheral vision. So it took some explaining for me. I was like, so is she not going to have peripheral vision because of the procedure? And he said, no, she's not going to have it because the blood vessels are growing out the wrong way. So basically, they just lasered them off so they wouldn't keep doing that. So she seemed to do okay on her eye test, though, because they tested peripheral also. They would see her reactions where things would come into her field of view. Mm-hmm. Now, if it was reduced, I don't know. They didn't say. But they seemed pretty happy with her eyesight so far, with the way her eyes were functioning.
Right.
So, now, she doesn't have the best, you and I don't have the best track record with our eyes. You've got astigmatism. I've had glasses since the 6th grade. I got my laser surgery a couple of years ago, so that's nice. But without it, I could see about this far before everything went blurry. So she's not in, a great place to start from in the first place.
Yeah, and they did give us the option, just to do the one eye or do them together. And I was so thankful that we did them together because
Me too.
I wouldn't have gone through the second surgery after what we saw. And I know it was not the surgery, and it is very successful with no complications for a lot of premature babies. And I think she just reacted wrongly to the medication. I mean, that's even happening right now with my grandpa who just had a surgery. He's having a hard time getting off his anesthetic, and he's getting there, but some people just react differently to medications than others. So I don't am not trying to discourage laser surgery for the ROP or anything, because I do believe it was necessary and she could have not had any vision if we hadn't done it. I just wasn't prepared myself for how she was going to react to the medication. Because we had the brain surgery and she just went through with flying colors. And then they're like, oh, it's just a laser surgery at bedside. I was like, oh, this is going to be no big deal. And then it turned out to be a little bit more than no big deal. But if you're debating, I don't know anything about the injections in the eyes as far as fixing ROP. I know it is a new and upcoming technique. We just chose not to do the trial run because you didn't know going into the trial if you were going to get the injections or the laser. You just got, like, they just like drew out of a hat. And then if the eyes don't take the injections, then they still would have to do the laser at that point, and it was just going to prolong the possibility of hurting her eyesight. So for us personally, we went with the laser and not the injections. I'm not promoting one over the other because I don't have anything to compare them to. That was the reasoning behind our decision.
Yeah, we asked a lot of questions about it. You know, we were open to the idea, and ultimately, for me, at the end of the day, my concern was, like you said, it would prolong it because they would have to give it time to see if the trial treatment worked, if she even got it, or if she got the placebo. But they'd have to wait longer before they would resort to doing the laser surgery, and I didn't feel like the risk was worth taking to her eyesight for us, for our situation.
Yeah, and I think at our hospital, they were just starting the trials, so they didn't have a lot of data to go on.
Yeah.
We were probably one of the few that could have been part of that trial, and I really hope they have great success for it. There were other little trials that we participated in while we were there, but I just felt when it came to the eyesight, I wasn't really willing to risk anything for trial experiences.
Yeah, if they had had more data to look at, you know, I asked a lot of questions about it. We both did, because if it were, you know, worth doing the study, we would have happily participated. It just wasn't something that we felt at the time that we could do.
Yeah, and I mean, if we would have had more answers also as far as would it keep her from having to have any type of procedure or surgery like she would have, but they just didn't have the information to back it yet, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing, wonderful opportunity for more people in the future.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was really the last of her major procedures. Mm-hmm. It took, like you said, a few days to get her weaned back off of the tube, and I don't think she's had any real issues with her eyes at all. The eye doctor's been happy when he followed up with her. And, you know, sometimes you see, like, there's some eye crossing or something like that. We also keep an eye on her eyes for any signs that the cranial pressure is building up again, because that can cause changes in the eyes too. So we just still have to keep an eye on them, and, you know, so far so good. She seems to be able to see just fine. Her hearing seems to be just fine too. So I think overall, I mean, other than scaring us half to death, 3/4 of the way to death, you know, there's nothing quite like seeing your child code in front of you, and it's like all you can do is just stand there, and you want to, you know, your mouth's like hanging. My mouth was hanging open, and it's all you could do to not jump up and just, you know, try to do something. But what can you do? Even if you knew,
the only thing you can do is stay out of the way.
Yeah. Even if you knew what to do, could you even do it? Mm-hmm. Because we're not medical professionals, you know, they're trained to react, and we're still in shock, complete shock. So, scariest moment of my life. I thought the scariest moment of my life before that was when you delivered her, but the C-section, because I hadn't seen you. And when I finally got to see her, they were putting her in the incubator, and she was so little, and she was on the tube. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know what to think. I couldn't think. The only thought I had in my head was, what's going to happen? You know, is she even going to make it? I don't know. So I didn't think anything could be scarier than that. Mm-hmm. And then, surprise, I found out I was wrong. Which, that's a big part of being a parent, is finding out you're wrong. A lot.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the last real big scare we've had, as far as, I mean, there were some, you know, little scares with her on the oxygen after we got home, but I think really that was the biggest one. I know we had some, you know, long nights where we weren't sure if she was, like, her fingers were getting a little blue. Is she cold? Is it circulation? Or is she not breathing? So we had a few nights like that, but that was the big one.
Oh, by far, that was the scariest moment.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be an easy procedure, and I guess the procedure was easy, but the aftermath was not easy. I honestly feel like that's why she came home on oxygen. I don't think if we would have had that setback, we would have even had to bring oxygen home with us. But we did, and we got through it, and we're moving on. We'll see the doctor, I guess, in about a month and a half. Get our eyes checked again.
Yeah. So everything's good so far. Maybe she won't need glasses right away. That'd be nice. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to this particular topic, Stephanie.
I don't think so. It's kind of a short one tonight. We've had a long, busy evening with dance and homework and all that good stuff. So just to check in to see how everybody's doing and make sure everybody's still out there.
Yes. So feel free to, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like the channel, leave a comment, share it with your friends. Peer pressure is encouraged and appreciated. If you're listening to audio, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you get the new episodes when they upload automatically. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to send, me an email on the channel, or, you can find me on Twitter or online or whatever. A lot of you know me on there anyway. So, like, subscribe, share, click the little bell on YouTube if that's where you are. And, we'll see you next time. Team Talley, parental pilgrimage with a micro preemie. Look, I'm getting good at it.
There you go.
So, thanks everybody. See you next time.
Have a good evening, good night, good week. Happy Halloween if we don't see you before then.
Happy Halloween. I'm sure that if you follow me on Twitter or whatever, I'm sure there will be Halloween pictures up. So, there's also a Facebook page for the podcast. So, you can find them if you want them. So, until next time, thanks for coming along with this Team Talley, and we'll see you later.
Bye.